friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah and I love to do all sorts of sewing and upcycling projects. And this week I actually want to upcycle an old tote bag of mine. I have so many tote bags and they're all a bit stained and frankly they are all a bit boring, but I use them every day and I decided it's finally time to give them some love and some attention and make them so much more prettier. And I was very much inspired by my friend Leonie, and she was wearing this lovely Asos shirt and I became obsessed with the design and the print, but I don't really need it as a shirt. So I decided to sort of translate that design onto my tote bag, and I want to make a pickle tote bag today. And these were also my inspo images. I'll pop them up right here. And I will try to come up with my own design and my own pattern, but as always I will link everything that I used in the description. And I think this is a fairly easy and quick project. I will try to finish it in one afternoon actually. So let's get started. So for my pickle tote bag, I will be using this old tote bag that I got when I was still living in Malmö. It's from the local library in Malmö. And I really like the size, also because it has a bit more dimension. It's just not a flat tote bag, but instead they, sort of gave it a bottom, so you can put a lot of stuff in it. And it is a very nice and thick canvas material. But as you can see, it is quite stained here. And then the back side is also quite stained. This was my first attempt at lino printing. And I just needed a surface where I could try out different designs, and it hasn't been holding up super great, and then it got a bit dirty. So this is the tote bag that I basically would like to transform. I think I need to sort of have a panel of fabric here that covers the big stains that sort of hides them a little bit. And I have these panels here. These are from my curtain that I hemmed. And I think they work quite nicely with like the colorway, and I think I can use them to sort of create one panel of fabric which then covers the ugly side. And then on this panel here I can basically do my applique on, and then I can sew everything together in the end. So I've created a panel that is a bit shorter than my main tote bag, and now I think it's time to iron everything, and then I can start with my pickle template. I have never ironed a tote bag. This is like next level commitment, honestly. Even ironing out the straps makes such a difference. It looks so much better already, so much neater. Like you see this one compared to this one, looks so much better. After I've ironed all of my pieces, I selected some fabrics for the pickle, and I used some leftover scraps in this green fabric as well as this denim. And then it was finally time to do my pickle template, and I just looked up pickle jar images on Google and sort of traced the design very roughly. And I always checked that the sizing would work with my tote bag size. And then I also did the same thing for a pickle. So I basically looked up pickle images on Google and also traced my design on there. And then I was able to cut out my templates. Okay, so I've cut out all of my pattern pieces, and as you can see I separated the lid from the jar, simply because I will make the lid out of maybe this dark denim fabric that I have right here. And I initially thought that I could maybe also do the outline of the pickle jar in this dark denim, but honestly I think I would just trace the shape and then sort of outline the shape with a very small zigzag stitch with a black thread color. And I think that works for me, I guess, because it is quite hard to sort of cut out these very, very thin, flimsy strips of fabric. And once I sew them on with a zigzag stitch anyway, you won't even see that there was fabric underneath. So I'm just gonna do the tracing, and then I can cut my lid shape And after that I will start working on the pickles. And I've cut out one pickle shade. This is just a rough guide for sort of a basic size, and then I can try to alter the pattern a little bit. Okay, I've actually decided against the black denim for the cap, so I will use this nice and blue denim instead. And here I will do the details in a white thread. I think that looks nicer and is a better contrast to this dark blue denim. So I've just very roughly laid out my pickles. I used 2 different shades of green, and then I will also be using some different thread colors to give it a bit more dimension and add a bit more detail. And I kind of like the design so far. I think it's quite cute. I might differ the shapes a bit more. And then for the middle I want to add my label, similar to my drawing that I did here. So I will be having a label that goes basically across here. So you won't even be able to see, I guess, this part of the pickle jar. But overall I really like it. I think it's cute. And yeah, I can start attaching it. And I want to try out a new hack that I was recommended by some people on my previous applique videos. And I will use a glue stick to glue my pieces in place, and then I can start sewing them. So now I'm just sewing around all of the pickle edges with a green thread and a small zigzag stitch, and I will be using different sorts of thread colors for this darker green as well as for this more olivey green tone. And then I'm also going to be adding just some straight stitches, as I did here with the white stitching, where I can add a bit more detail. So this is my pickle jar with the first thread color, and now I'm going in with the darker thread color into these dark green pickles. And I've also started adding a bit more detail, like these lines here, and I think that looks quite cute. I have to say I don't really recommend the glue stick hack. For me it didn't really work that well. I mean, it was stuck, but then my needle became super sticky and my thread broke a couple of times. You can actually see that here. So my thread started breaking and just my needle got very gooey and sticky. But overall I think it looks very cute. And then after I've attached all of my pickles, I can start thinking about the label design. So I've just started sketching on my label that I want to add, and I used my template again and sort of marked my middle point, which would be the K. And then I also marked my middle point here. I marked it with some tailor's chalk. You can barely see it, but it is there. And then I started writing the letters. So I have picked out a few different ribbons that I want to use for my pickle tote bag. I think I definitely want to add some sort of lace border all around the edges of my pickle applique. I think that looks quite cute. Yeah, so the idea is to put it all around the edges to give it a bit more of a grandma look because my grandma used to make the most delicious pickles I've ever had, and I don't know, pickles just remind me of grandmas, and I think this kind of looks cute. So I will use this trim as sort of a border or a frame, I guess. But before I can attach my trim, I will attach my label that I just made. It's so cute, I love it so much. I just also love the red writing. I think that adds a nice pop of color. It is so, so cute. Yeah, so now I can actually attach my lace, and I will attach it with a wider zigzag stitch and go all around the edges basically. And for the corners here, I'm basically just gonna be folding it over and then create a corner like this, so that it has these nice rounded edges. That is so cute. That is so cute. Oh my god. Okay, now I will just attach it to the bag. I will just pin everything in place and then do another round of stitching all around the edges here. And I've decided not to add any more lace or trim, so this will stay this way. The pickle bag turned out so, so cute. I'm super, super happy with the result. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope this could inspire you a little bit. Of course, you could definitely use any design you want to upcycle your tote bags. I saw some that had like gems on there, and I think that was also a very, very cute idea. And of course, you could also not put it on a tote bag, but instead maybe put the applique on a jacket that you no longer like, or maybe a sweater or a t-shirt or something like that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to see more of my content. That really helps me out. And yeah, now it's time to show you the reveal.